So this video is about braking tools. You're probably not looking at tips on that. Breakage detection with a tool setter, and the integration of a tool breakage detection routine with Fusion 360. A while ago I started a thread on the CNC zone and uploaded a simple breakage detection routine, but it didn't seem to raise much interest. I've since improved the routine and figured a video would probably be less abstract. I'll add a link to the latest version in the description to this video. First of all, two perhaps fairly obvious, but nevertheless important points. It probably goes without saying, but tools don't normally break at the end. I generally prefer to break my tools higher up. Detecting breakages like these doesn't need an accurate device. This opens the door to a wide variety of solutions. The required accuracy of a tool setter is probably driven more by how much TTS pullout can be tolerated by the ATC before the forks crash into the tool holder body. The second point is that I've actually broken quite a few smaller tools, but not one of these. Tool breakage and pullout are therefore not the only issues you might encounter. I'll definitely be getting back to this point later on in the video. In the CNC Zone thread I said I didn't own a tool setter. Well, I lied. This is a Wild Horse Econo probe I bought several years ago and never used. The probe tip can be easily removed and replaced by a tool setter plate, if you have full control over your fingers. I'm sure it's not the most accurate probe in the world, but as I'll mention later on, it might actually be the better tool setter. The tool setter plate is made of aluminium, which is not the ideal material. It's going to get pretty chewed up after it's measured a few tools, but it's more than adequate to detect the tools I break. So let's see it in action. Here I've mounted the tool setter in a vise, but this is just for testing. I could have mounted it anywhere. I'm running a program from Fusion 360 to simulate the machining operation by just tracing around the top of a 123 block. Notice the gouge. I'll explain that a bit later on. After completing the first stop, the tool breakage detection routine is called before changing to the next tool. The tool length checks out, so we can safely change the tool and continue with the next operation. There are several ways to implement tool breakage detection in Fusion 360. I'll explain three methods I've tried. The first is to associate the tool breakage control with the tool itself. This means the routine will be called each time you've finished using a tool. If you have several ops using the same tool, it's intelligent enough to wait until the end of the last op before checking the tool length. I'm not too keen on this approach for two reasons. Firstly, there's no indication in the operations tree that a tool check has been added. And secondly, you might not always want a tool check to be performed for a particular tool. I prefer to explicitly insert a tool breakage control routine into the operations tree exactly where it's required. I'll show you two ways this can be done. The method I used for the video, and I assume the way Fusion expects it to be done, is to go to Setup, Manual NC, and select Tool Break Control. Just move this up to where you want the tool to be checked, and that's all you have to do. After completing the first operation, the tool break control routine will be executed, and if the tool length checks out, the program continues with the tool change. I have to point out at this point that both of these methods require changes to the post-processor. So let's take a look at the post-processor settings and the generated code. The post-processor dialog has a fairly long list of properties, and I've added another 4 for the tool break control at the end. Now if you're using a Mac on a laptop, you may need to scroll down to find all the properties, but the scroll bar may be missing. The trick here is to drag the dialog to the right until the green bar appears, and then release it. You should then be able to scroll to see the parameters down below. The tool breakage tolerance, or perhaps I should have called it tool length tolerance, is used to check for both broken tools and tool pullout. Tool breakage over travel should be set larger than the tolerance and allows for a higher measurement inaccuracy when initially probing with a faster feed rate, and also controls the retract after the first probe. An initial tool check is performed at this feed rate, and then the feed is reduced by a factor of 20 for a second, more accurate measurement. The work coordinate system is changed while checking the tool, and later returned to the original coordinate system. Here I chose to use G59.3. Now let's take a look at the generated code. Fusion inserts just a single line to call the tool break control routine and pass the parameters we've just seen. A much easier way to arrive at exactly the same result without modifying the post-processor is to add a Fusion 360 pass-through. For this, you can simply copy the same line from the G-code examples I'll be providing with the subroutine. In this case, I'm taking the values from the inch example and paste it into the dialog. Obviously, you can modify the parameters as you wish. Move the entry to the correct position in the tree, as before, and rename it. To reuse it more easily later, it can be saved as a template. The template can be reused by simply selecting it from the Setup Create from Template menu. This is the fastest way to add the routine once you created the template, and creating the template is far quicker than creating a copy of the post and modifying it. Be aware that Fusion doesn't generate any errors if a tool break control is inserted into the program but the chosen post doesn't support it. I said before the pass-through generates exactly the same code, is easy to implement, and there's no danger of the code being affected by new post versions. Here I've placed a shim stock on the tool setter to simulate tool pullout. You've already seen this part, so I'll fast forward. The tool stops at the clearance height set in Fusion and rapids from there to the tool setter position. The routine will stop here to avoid a crash if it detects the clearance above the tool setter trigger point is less than half an inch. It's the user's responsibility to ensure that the clearance height clears all other parts and fixturing. This brings up a very important point. The tool setter trigger point must be set to Z0 in the probing work coordinate system. Later in the video I'll explain how to set this up. In this case, the routine has checked the length and stopped the program showing a warning of possible tool pullout. So now let's get to the gouge. I'd run the program at least 10 times when for some reason it started with a higher spindle speed. I was still trying to work out what was going on when the tool hit the block. Really stupid, but it was quite interesting nevertheless. It turns out that instead of restarting the program, I just hit cycle start and PathPilot ran the second op. PathPilot was expecting a shorter tool. I've rotated the block so you can see the result. From this perspective, the tool runs from the right to the left and appears to get lower as the gouge progresses. This is not actually tool pullout. The block moved in the vise because I hadn't clamped it very well. I wasn't expecting to machine it at all. There was a cool shower of sparks, but I'm afraid I wasn't recording at the time. I'm not sure what the ideal colour of 1 to 3 block chips should be, but these had a very attractive turquoise blue colour. Doesn't really come across in the video. I checked the tool pullout. There was none at all. The tool didn't break either. As you've seen, the workpiece moved and the machine lost steps, neither of which would have been detected by the breakage detection routine. Remember earlier on I said I'd broken numerous small tools, but never anything like a half-inch carbide end mill. Well, I'm not even sure the steppers of my 1100 can create the necessary force to break a half-inch end mill. If not, then lost steps are inevitable. A tool setter that can only measure in the vertical direction won't be able to detect all possible issues. This may or may not be a problem depending on which tools you use, like a shear hog for example, and how hard you push them, which brings me back to the better tool setter. Although mine is probably not accurate enough for me to use it for actually setting tool lengths, it can certainly detect a broken tool and a degree of pullout. It's not however limited to just probing the Z-axis. It could potentially be used to check for lost steps in the X and Y directions, similar to the Rennie-Shaw tool setter. I'm not really too keen on trying it out though. I'm happy to leave this to someone else. The tool setter trigger point must be set to Z0 in the work coordinate system used for probing, in my case G59.3. Although the height of the tool setter is irrelevant in this case, I would suggest setting it to 0 or a value very close to 0, as explained by the video from Entirely Crimson. I'll add the link to this in the description. With the ETS height set to or close to 0, you can then use the standard PathPilot routine to set the work offset rather than carefully jogging the head down. With no tool in the spindle and the collet retracted, set the current tool to T0, move the tool setter under the spindle nose, double check the work coordinate offset and simply activate Move and Set Work Offset. Finally, insert the tool in the spindle and position it roughly over the center of the tool setter, and while still in the probing work coordinates, zero both the X and Y DROs. The tool breakage routines and the example code shown in the video are available for free download on the CNC Zone. I'd recommend dropping the feed overrides down on your first attempt to make sure you understand what's going on. And please read the README included with the files. And have fun!